I am here to tell you that this will be one of your favorite podcast, audio, visual, whatever. It's the Vol Report with Cooper Mays throughout the season as we get an inside look at the Vols, and it's brought to you by City Heating and Air Conditioning. I tell you that so you can go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button if you haven't to this point, because we'll get to visit with Coop weekly throughout the season. We love it. Thanks to City Heat and Air. City Heating and Air Conditioning, cityheatandair.com. Coop, first of all, you look fantastic. How you
Thank you.
feeling, man? Healthy?
Same way. Fantastic, man. Ready to go.
it is it is odd to think the different conversation we were having this time last year when you're dealing with the abdominal issue, and now you've managed yourself, and the coaches have managed you to, I would think, be 100% health wise as far as the number of practice snaps you take. Has that kind of been the case?
That's the goal.
That's so you're feeling good right now, but at the same time, do you feel like you got done what you needed to get done in camp, even though you're a super senior and they can take it easy on you a little bit?
No doubt. Yeah, I felt like we did some good work and or I guess we're talking about me here. So I guess I did some great work, I feel like, and also got to get out of it unscathed. So that was the goal.
That was the goal. Goal achieved. A lot of guys got through camp unscathed. There was Jordan Thomas had the one injury, and then there have been some nicks and bruises along the way. But for the most part, it's been a healthy camp, which is really good. I want to ask you about one guy in particular, and you were the very first to say Dylan Sampson's name. Watch out for him. It was before he'd even gotten on the field. I think he was maybe his freshman year, and you said, watch out for him. Well, it's his time to shine. How big is this for Dylan Sampson, this opportunity?
It's everything considering what we do and the amount of work we put in and everything. All the preparation that we have. Coach always talks about preparation meeting opportunity. Well, we've already done the preparation for months, so here's the opportunity.
What was it, take me back, that you originally liked about Dylan? What stood out early?
The first time I ever remember seeing or knowing or talking about or to Dylan. I don't really follow recruiting for everybody out there, like so I don't really know who people ask me about recruits, so I don't really know who we're even recruiting. I do know the new commits that we got that are like 5 stars, but that's about as far as I get into recruiting. So he came in, and I think it was day one of Group Pro, which is group protection, where all the O line and the running backs and sometimes the tight ends, but mostly just running backs and O line. We'll get over there and go through all of our protections and calls and go through hard looks at like kind of like a 3/4 to like half speed kind of thing. And he knew all the calls already. Like what they do is they signal in the play for the running back to see the signal and call the play for us. So he knew all the signals already and knew what I was calling. So for somebody that's a freshman that, you know, just got there to know all that stuff and kind of be clued in, it's pretty crazy and shows kind of what kind of person slash player you are. So I knew kind of right off the get go, like if he, obviously that was just the mental stuff. So I didn't know how athletically gifted he was and everything, but obviously that checked out too. So when you put two things together like that, you know a kid's going to be good.
So let me ask you this: that was just a pass protection drill?
Yeah, it was just purely making the calls and going to the right guys and everything.
That's pretty amazing. When you show up though, he's not the physical body that he is now. How important do you think it was for him to beef himself up, to get bigger, to get stronger, to be able to handle pass pro?
Definitely huge, really any guy, but especially, guys that are whatever undersized, or I don't really know how running backs are. He might not be undersized, but this guy, I'm fully aware of how it feels to be undersized and, too small to probably do your job at the best level you could. So it's kind of a race from the time you step on campus to, the time you leave to just get as strong and as physically big and beefed up as possible. So nothing, it does. I mean, I'm sure some positions it hurts to be heavier, but the bigger you are at my position, it seems like it just helps you.
The Vol Report is brought to you by City Heating and Air Conditioning, 50 years in East Tennessee. Integrity matters. Other HVAC companies might say you need an entire unit. How about just a part or Freon, and you'll be taken care of with City Heating and Air, cityheatandair.com, City Heating and Air Conditioning. Along those lines, could Dylan Sampson be, and I'm not knocking anybody that's gone, I don't mean it like that, but best all around back when you start talking about in terms of catching the football, ability to make people move in space? What are your thoughts on him as an all around back?
I think he's kind of what you're describing, an all around back. I mean, obviously Jay Wright in his own right, like a different player, but man, super electric and super special. Like helped us do a lot on offense last year having Jay Wright. But yeah, I mean those they're different backs, but they each have their own strengths and they'll play off of each other really well when they were in the same offense. But now, you know, for him to be the feature back, a guy that can mix it up and kind of do everything out of the backfield, you know, in the pass game, you know, making really good cuts and having great vision in the run game. Like when you put all that stuff together, it makes for a really good back.
What kind of leader is Dylan? Or is he more of a quiet guy?
No, he talks more. He's more of a talker than probably the average guy. He always has juice and is always ready to go. So he's always quick to speak up if he feels like he sees something or needs to say something. So that's something he's grown in a lot too this past year.
For some reason, have you noticed over your career that running backs typically are not the verbal leaders? So that's kind of cool that he can be like that.
Yeah, it is. He's a really intelligent kid. Like I think he was like a valedictorian or something of his high school or something like that. So I mean, obviously the kid knows how to talk really well and is very intelligent. So he probably has a lot more confidence than some guys at running back position. Just you know, just a super intelligent guy with great people skills. So if you mix all that together, it works out well for you.
Pretty good dude. Uh, Josh Heupel said that Cam Selden, who everybody has been excited about for over a year now, going back to I guess spring camp 2023, a lot of people have been excited about because his size speed ratio. What are your thoughts on him now that Josh Heupel has said he's 100% cleared and ready to go?
My thoughts on him being cleared, or like my thoughts on him in general.
Just your thoughts on him in general.
Kind of what I mean. What you guys are excited about. You know, a huge kid that's extremely athletic and fast, really hard worker, and not scared to put his face in the fan. You know, like if he sees a brick wall, he'll have no problem trying to go run through it. Like if you got a guy that athletic and that big, and you know knows what he's doing, and then you add on the fact that he's very willing, like it mixes up really good.
How much is his next step vision? Perhaps I want to talk about running back vision a little bit and making the right cut. Is how much is that the next step for him?
I'm not really sure, just because I haven't seen him in action with me and gotten to feel him. Pause, but like gotten to feel how that relationship works. You know, if you build a relationship with a running back, it's like y'all can play off of each other. You know, like me and Jay Wright did really well last year together. Like a lot of his cuts came off of blocks that I made, and him feeling, you know, how I was going to play it, and him knowing I was going to be where I was going to be. So it's kind of something that you grow off of and just get a feel for. But it's something that you know probably takes a little bit of time with the O line that you're running with and everything.
And that's in 25 years, I've never heard about chemistry between like an offensive lineman, in your case, a center, and a running back. That's super cool. How long does that take to develop where you have a good feel? Are you talking about practices, games? What type of environment do you have to be at to try to develop that?
Gotta be practice more, you know. But it's got to take two intelligent dudes that know how to run the plays and know what we're trying to get out of the scheme and everything. You know, luckily every single year we've had smart running backs with me. Like I mean, Jabari and Jay Wright over the last few years have been really good for us, and like they understood what we were trying to get done as a team, they understood how I felt about stuff and how I was gonna operate and how I was gonna move. Like I know where to lose and I know where to win. So they know how to play off of me. So
What do you that's a cool thing. What do you mean by that? I know how to where to lose and know where to win. What do you mean by that?
right. I mean, like every play. I mean, these guys in the SEC are really good players too. Like they're 5 stars. They're getting paid to play football at a high level, and that's what they're gonna do. You're not just gonna just whoop somebody's butt exactly how you want to every play. You know what I'm saying? It's just not gonna. It's not. You're not gonna just dominate somebody every play. It's just not how it's gonna work anymore at this level of football. But if you know where the ball's going, if you know how the play's unfolding, what the scheme is, you can lose places and still be okay. If you're running outside zone to the right, I can lose backside because I know that a 330-pound nose guard is not going to run Jay Wright down from behind on the backside of an outside zone. So I'm going to sell out far front side, get him reached up and hook him up, turn back on him, and he's gonna have to. I'm going to play so far front side that he's going to have to go behind me backside, and then by that time the ball's already gone. Or if it's not gone, there's no way somebody that's 330 should be able to catch that guy.
Has anybody told you that you're just a really smart dude, and if you want to be a football coach, you could do that?
People have told me I could be a football coach. I don't know, man. It's like football, like all football is angles. Like that's all it. It's not hard. Like
But I see
I
you
mean,
as
like
this.
you gotta play it probably a little bit to know the full amount. Like, but at the end of the day, like it's all like it's like a math problem. Like you're as a center for me, like it's a math problem every play. Like I've got 5 people. I've got I mean 5 to 7. I've got 5 to 7. I've got 5 to 7 little chess pieces, and they've got their 11. I've got to figure out how to put these 7 or 5 or 6 in the right spots in the right path to beat their 11. So it's kind of like a game. Well, it is a game. It's definitely a game.
I don't sense you want to be a football coach. I see CEO Cooper Mazes someday.
Yeah, I hope so. I probably wouldn't want to be a football coach, honestly, but
that's
um,
that's a lot of grinding, especially with recruiting. When it comes to vision, do running backs learn vision, or is that innate? Is that a gift from God, so to speak?
I would say half and half. Obviously, like I said, you got to learn part of it. Like you got to learn where we're trying to set stuff up, where the hit points of the play are going to be. Usually, if that closes up, where are you going to go? Depending on where the defense is. Like there's a lot of stuff that you can learn about that will help you. But at the end of the day, like there's some people that get it, and then there's some people that don't. There's some people I'm sure that are in the middle that learn and get better. But like if you look at like guys, like there was a lot of times where like people like Darnell all the time, like especially like when he was early in his career, like when I first got here, like when we switched offenses, he didn't really know exactly what he was doing sometimes. But just because of like how special he was and how like that came like the feeling stuff around him, like you can I don't know. I feel like I'm kind of the same way. They call it spidey senses in the O-line room, but like you can just feel stuff and see stuff without seeing it. Like I don't know how to explain it. But like you gotta have a feel for stuff around you without being able to look at it. And that's what I tell to these O-line guys all the time. Like you can't just like stare at one person the whole time. Like I don't look at one person the whole time we play. Like I look right like if there's 3 people right here and I'm reading out these 3, like I'm looking right through the middle of it all. And I'm looking at all 3 of them, and then when it finally plays out how it's supposed to, then I'll lock on my one. And then even then, while I've locked up on my one, I've got my eyes periffing to see if anybody's looping around or flipping. Like, I mean, like you can't, like people aren't going to stay still all the time. Like you got to be able to think on your feet and problem solve. And that is like, that's a hard thing to do. Like you can't recruit that. You know what I'm saying?
Uh-uh.
Like you can't jump into somebody's mind and see how they play football. You kind of just got to figure it out and guess. Luckily they guessed well with this guy right here. I was 240. I was 240. I wasn't big enough to play O line, but but the coaches at UT believed in me, and that's why I'm here. So
Yep. And now you're an all SEC center, which is pretty darn awesome. Edwin Spillman, we talked before we were recording that he's a guy that has impressed you as one of the newish players on campus.
right, yeah, he's a young guy that I felt like has done really good. I'm limited in my perspective of players and everything because I'm so much into the thick of the front seven, most of the time. But Edwin Spillman is a guy that will be really, really good in the future. Like seeing a guy that can come in and play linebacker and kind of show up college ready, size and strength wise, like he's got some of the harder stuff figured out. Now he's just got to put his mind to it and figure out the fine details of the game and that will come with just playing more and doing more. But he's learning from a really good coach and has a lot of good guys in front of him. So I think that's a guy I've seen that's done pretty well as a young guy.
Yep, and Coop knows because he's been able to, like I said, call out Dylan Sampson as being a special player way early. Spillman, a freshman linebacker. Uh, Want to ask you about Nico for a moment. There is so much pressure on him, and a lot of it's because of guys like me and talking about him, and it may be unfair to some extent. What have you learned about him that makes you think he can handle that pressure and that it won't get to him at any point?
The biggest thing is he's been raised right, and that's ground one base structure. Like he made his foundation of rock, and like, or I guess his parents and his family around him has kind of made his foundation like rock instead of sand, and I think he's a guy that kind of, I think from when I talk to him and when I hang out with him and everything, it seems like he is where his feet are. Like doesn't seem to care about the outside noise, and doesn't really register with him. And that's the best thing that could happen. You don't want to read about if it's good or bad. Like it's not real. I've talked about this again, but like none of that stuff's real, man. Like what's real is when you go out there on Saturday and you put the ball down on the field. Like that's real. Like nothing anybody says outside of the building doesn't matter. So
No, absolutely. And you mentioned his upbringing. I'm curious. Is he any different as the projected starter, the guy who's going to lead you guys, than he was a year ago? Has he changed at all?
I mean, he's grown. Like everybody changes, fine tweaks and tunes, but you know, he's the same car. He might have new rims on it, but he's the same car at the end of the day. He's trusty and reliable, and he's just the same guy every day. I can respect that. Everybody changes a little bit, but they don't change a lot.
Yeah. Consistency is key. Last thing I want to ask you, because Josh Heupel had mentioned he threw an interception in one of the practices recently, which is going to happen. But I'm curious how he bounces back because you guys as a team have always had that snap and clear mentality. And it was no more evident that 2022 Alabama game, but it's been evident several times. And I'm just curious, how does he handle a play that doesn't go his way?
That's probably a better question for him, but from the
Okay.
outside looking in, I mean, I can't tell. I mean, like at the end of the day, we're all gonna screw up out here. Like I see all Americans lose all the time. I see NFL players lose all the time. Like I said earlier, like they're players at the end of the day that are getting free college and free food to play football at a high level, and then you got NIL. So there's more incentive there. So I mean, like players are gonna make good plays. If you're not making play, like practice shouldn't be easy.
Nope. Very well said. He's Cooper Mays. I'm Dave Hooker. The Vol Report brought to you by City Heating and Air Conditioning. Have you hit that subscribe button? You had better do it now. Like and subscribe. More with Cooper Mays throughout the season, and it's exciting. Football season is almost here. For Coop, I'm Dave. This has been a presentation of Off the Hooks.